Welcome to our show, Tough Talks Unlimited, co-hosted by Derek Bowles and myself, Michael Garth. In this show, we're going to hear from world-class leaders and innovators, people who are willing to have positive conversations and share their insights on tough talks to get you through tough times. Let's get started.
Can you hear me, guys?
Oh, we sure can, Todd. How are you?
Oh, man.
You know what? You look like Florida sunshine.
You guys look awesome. Would you rather me put my headset on? You like the headset look?
No, it's fine. You do whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I couldn't help but overhear you talking about me. I don't know anything about this dude.
Yeah.
Why is he even on this show?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I'm having fun. I didn't know if you could hear me, and I just went live this. I mean, of course, Derek did my show, and I went off this morning, and had a good time. But I am super excited to be. A little bit about me, Coach. And can you give me your name, Coach?
My name is Mike Garland, Garland.
Mike
Garland.
And you're a MSU, 10-year coach?
No. I coached there for 23 years.
Oh, my gosh. All with Izzo?
Yeah, I did.
And he's still there, huh?
Yeah, he is. He's glutton for punishment.
I saw him. I mean, I haven't seen him in a while, but I saw him on the news the other day. Yeah, how old is he now?
He's 68 years old.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he looked 68, whatever that is, but I can see some of those years creeping up on him for sure.
No question.
So what caused you to get out of the game, Mike?
Well, it was that time, Todd. I wanted
Yeah.
to transition. I wanted to transition over into a season in my life where I wanted to direct more of my attention to my 8 grandkids, my 3 kids of my own, and actually my mom, who is a victim of Alzheimer's, and just a lot of things. And I wanted to do things that I thought were more impactful to, changing the world to be a better place.
That's awesome. I mean, that's definitely a wired differently mantra for sure. Derek was, I don't know, we got close to 3,000 views on your show, Derek.
Wow.
You crushed it, man.
Oh, wow.
He was so, I have people critique me after my shows, and I take everything so personal, right? And my guy that helps me felt like I cut you off a couple times, and I just want you to know that I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just one of those things when you're an interviewer, you don't want dead air.
Sure.
And so we're both learning this game together, and that's one of the things I like the most about Derek is that we're learning together.
Right.
But Derek, you were great, and I loved when I had you pour into those people individually.
Mm-hmm.
You nailed every one of those people's souls and literally, I was emotional. Like I didn't let it out so much, but it was building up. It's like, wow, this was brilliant. You just had such a great, and I will talk about that on this show is that when you started speaking into them, you hit every one of them, especially Latane. She lost her husband and, so I just want you to know that it was a great show. And I will tell you this, I didn't go into your show. Like I'd just done Nick Walenda and whatever. And I'm like, and I had to confess that I didn't see us right now the way I'm involved in you. I saw it at the Super Bowl.
Right.
Then in between there, you just kept coming, and I just love that so much about you. And I talked about that. So I just felt it was a great show. I thought it was a blessing. You blessed people, and I want to get better. I want to get better. So thank you for allowing me to come on your show, and we're going to be able to listen to people up and wired differently. Coach, I think you have a tremendous gift. You're an overcomer, and the fact that you've done that high-level coaching for 23 years is just remarkable. So I want to commend you for that. And your humility. I'm humble, but I think I have a little arrogant edge to me that I'm trying to make people, I think there's an arrogance that people like, and there's an arrogance that people don't like. And I'm trying to make sure I fall on the arrogance side, like Denny Crane or some of these, Sam Malone from, Cheers. There's just that side that, Michael Jordan's arrogant, but they like him, right?
Absolutely.
So we have to work on that. I get some. I'm not Grant Cardone, damn it. So make sure you don't confuse me with him. I'm going to be good.
Well, Todd, there's arrogance and then there's confidence, and some people can't recognize the difference. And I've got 3 grandsons, and my sons, they ask me all the time, Dad, what is the one thing that you think is most important in raising them? And I said, number 1, give them confidence. Make sure they're confident. I didn't work hard enough to make you guys as confident as I should have. Did a lot to make you tough, but I didn't give you the confidence that I thought the kind of confidence that, just like what you have, I could see immediately from once we cut this podcast on, I could see the confidence in you. I don't look at it as arrogance, but Todd, you better have some confidence in this world.
Right. Mm-hmm. God has called us here for a clear job, and it's to cultivate and maintain this world and the things in it. And we have to be confident in our roles and what we do. And you can't walk out there and control that basketball court, Derek, if you don't think you're going to make that shot in the final buzzer. I mean, you have to live for that shot. You have to live for that free throw. You have to live for that moment, right? Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm arrogant. Just give me the damn ball. Let me just finish this right now. And as a coach, Mike, I think you're being a little hard on yourself. I think your grandkids and players you coached must have seen what I saw the first time when you walked in the room. I remember you walking in the room behind Derek before we went live, and I'm like, "Who's that dude, man?" I don't know. I just wanted to meet him. I was all about Derek, but it's like there was something about your calm swag, that so you got to know you got to know your superpowers, right? You don't have to brag about them all the time, but you have to know them so you can showcase them, right?
Absolutely.
So a little bit about me, Coach Mike, is can I call you Coach Mike?
Oh, sure you can.
I own 14 organizations, 14 companies right now. I've built multiple companies throughout my life. I'm 58 years old this May. I have 4 grandchildren. I have 3 daughters, 32, 31, and 23. I have 4 national brands, 3 national brands, 4 total brands. I am the founder of Paysurf Systems Incorporated. We're the nation's largest HCM and 1,000 employee or more space for processing payroll and HR. We love that honor. We work hard at being that. I've been doing that for 23 years. I built that company in 2003. I also am the owner of the donut capital of the world. I own the world record for most donuts made and sold in an 8-hour period, 8,558.
Wow.
My donut retail franchise, Tom's Donuts, is now known as the Guinness Book of World Record holder and the donut capital of the world.
Wow.
Okay. It's funny because I look at you guys. Okay. Right. Like, so little do you know that, like, I'm just going to have fun with you. Paysurf Systems is worth close to $30 million, but you didn't smile till I told you I sold 8,558.
I love it.
Like, so what is the message here? Like, I get that all the time, and I'm like, you don't even care, dude. You want to know about the donut capital of the world.
Absolutely.
And I'm the most passionate about that company. I love it. My father is Tom. He's 81 years old now. He's the winningest high school football coach in the history of the world for a point there. He held Coach Mike knows that story about my dad.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And so I built a franchise called Tom's Donuts Prime Rib Brisket Burgers.
Wow.
So it's a restaurant, and that whole restaurant is on the water, and it's a whole football motif of, we sell a halfback, a fullback, and a linebacker sandwich. If you want fries, you can order the sweep, and that gets you the fries and the burger.
I love that.
And yeah. And
That's
so
great.
I featured my dad's football life in that franchise, and then obviously he built Tom's, and I was able to rescue it in 2018. It had foundered, and I didn't want my dad to go out in that way.
Sure.
His wife has Alzheimer's. I'm sorry, his wife has Parkinson's.
Right.
So I'm managing his dementia. Me and a bunch of people, we're working hard at managing his dementia and her Parkinson's. So I feel with you, Coach Mike. I feel with you, Coach Mike.
Absolutely.
So I think that's enough to know a little bit about me. I'm an author. I wrote, my first book was entitled Wired Differently. My second book was titled Wired Differently, Drift Again. Hang on a second. Yeah, you won't have trouble. Just let me talk about myself. We'll just have to... sometimes in the right audience, I tell them that, man, before we get started, I want to talk about my favorite subject, me.
Good for you.
You got to have the right you got to have the right audience.
Absolutely.
For that joke, for it to land.
Right.
One time I did that joke and it was fun. I mean, everybody got it and landed, and except for the next speaker. And he came up and he said, well, listen, I just want you to know my favorite subject is not myself, it's you.
Wow.
It was a low blow. I mean, it was like what a dick, right? Like, why would you? I was in the audience too. I was in the audience. And I stood up and I said, what? Wow. That's a low blow. Come on now, somebody. You love yourself. That's the only thing you can do.
That's funny.
So the first book was Coach Mike was Wired Differently.
Yes.
And then my second book was Wired Differently, Drift Again. One word. That's our word. My third book is Wired Differently for Profits, for Business Profits. And my fourth book is coming out next month, entitled Your Will Be Done.
Wow.
The subtitle is You May Not Need God to Be Successful in This World, but I am successful in this world because, you may not need God to be successful in this world, but I'm successful because God is my world, right? And so it's this whole idea of teaching people about the two wills. A lot of people some people, Christians, get a little interesting about it because I'm going in, and this is, I don't know what you want to talk to me about, but I just want to run this by you two Christian men, is I'm taking on a tough topic in Your Will Be Done. Because I'm asking people to understand that one of God's greatest gift to us is our free will.
Yes.
And that we have the free will to choose him or not choose him.
Absolutely.
And make no mistakes. God wants us to choose him.
Absolutely.
But for one moment, could you imagine that we all had Christ in our life without having to do anything at all, without having to ask him into our heart? I mean, it was just pre-programmed.
Right.
We'd have no highs. We'd have no lows. There'd be no reason to seek him. There would be no reason to worship him. There would be no reason to look for prayer and do any of these things. It's just like, it doesn't even make sense.
Right.
So I talk about the 3 stages of being wired differently in this book, and it's given me great heartbreak. I've been in tears over this, because I have some people that are more of a Joel Osteen mindset that get goofy with me, and then there's hard Presbyterian reformists that basically say you can't confuse your will with God's will. There's only one will, and it's God's will. And listen, I know that there was a man by the name of Demas on the cross next to Jesus, and in the last seconds of his life, who had his own free will. He had his own mind. He made his own decisions. But at the last second, he did enter the kingdom because God's will entered his life within 30 seconds of his death. I just think that even though after we accept Christ in our life, we are controlled by the filter of Christ in our subconscious.
Right.
As a man thinketh with his heart is he. So we know that if our heart is a metaphor for our subconscious and God is in it, the free will that we have is going to be monitored just a little differently. If we start to look at naked pictures on Instagram, something's telling me that's not right.
Absolutely.
But I can still scroll.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Something, so that's part of the book and part of what we're going. So there's 3 stages in the book of Your Will Be Done. Stage 1, to be wired differently, is they recognize that we are born with a genetic code in us that's unlike anything else in the world.
Right.
You realize that by the time you're 3, you have 1,000 trillion neurons in your baby brain.
Wow.
Dude, that's 15 zeros. Can you imagine the cocktails? By the time you're 7, right? By the time you're 7, those neurons are connecting and creating myelin coating around the certain connected neurons, and they're developing who that baby's going to be. You see, at this time, a baby doesn't have a mind. It doesn't have a prefrontal cortex. God is growing that, right? God's in control of the fingernails and the motor skills and senses. And as a baby, the biggest decision, you don't even have any decisions. You just poop on command. I mean, like you don't even make a decision to poop. That's why you got to wear a diaper. You're walking around and you're just pooping because you don't know when you're going to poop or how you're going to poop. You cry because you're hungry and you don't know why you're crying. It means you're an automatic pilot. God is running that ship. But at some time after the age of 7, your prefrontal cortex is finally developed, and no longer will that child be able to learn a second instrument so easily. No longer will that child be able to pick up a second language. No more that child be able to bounce back from being bullied as easy, because those neurons are dissipating. Those that use it or lose it has just happened. No longer does that work that way, because now we're dialing in on who we're going to be when this prefrontal cortex is fully developed. And upon that time, when that prefrontal cortex is developed, God basically says, man, your brain is full now. It's fully loaded in my image. Now go out there and kick some ass.
Yeah.
But I want you here with me. And I need you to now listen to John 3:16, which says, accept me in your heart so I can be with you.
Right.
So there's this cavern between going to heaven as a baby because you don't have a prefrontal cortex, and this cavernous divide at some point, the age of accountability, where God says, well, now you need to ask Christ into your heart to spend the rest of eternity with me.
Right.
That's that line that I dare to take on. Right. And so your will be done.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. So that's the book. Powerful. And I bring science and I bring the true omnipotent nature of God our Father and Jesus Christ our Savior into one understanding of how, we talk about habits. We talk about how many free throws do you have your players shoot every day, Coach?
I mean, thousands, and they're still not shooting enough.
Right, and they're still not, because they're hardwiring that brain, that muscle memory, all that going on, right, Derek?
Right.
You're shooting those free throws, Derek. You couldn't count all the free throws you had to shoot. You couldn't, but that's your will driving that memory, that muscle, that neural pathway, that neuroplasticity, that thing that's your programming. Your will be done. God's will be done with free will to accept him and you. And then he wants to have the conscious understanding that you have him in your subconscious of your conscience. But listen, dude, you got to shoot free throws.
No,
absolutely.
No question.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, there's a little bit about me.
Well, you're talking about a subject that I love and a conversation that I've had with many about free will, that we are free will and we were created free will human beings. And what I find a lot is that a lot of people, Todd, when you speak to God made us in his image, they only liken that to physical. When he made us in his image, he made us in his image of every fiber of his being, whether that be spiritual or physical.
Right, right.
And if we are in his image, we know the will of God is free. Why wouldn't he give it to us the same way? I mean, your book, I mean, wow. I'm so glad that you're writing that and you have a platform in which to talk to people about that. It is incredible. And I totally commend you for it. You know, they're wrong. There's wrong that people do, just like you explained about someone watching pornographic movies. But man, you know, the free will, the free will. You know, I'm a true believer in that. When God sets out to heal someone, it's their choice to receive the healing. And if you don't do so, there's nothing that God can do for you.
And we can't make them do it.
No, you can't make them. You can't make them. So, wow, are you to be again commended for
Coach,
such a spectacular book.
Derek.
Yes.
I've sent the book. I'm going to send you guys the manuscript, okay?
Okay.
And I would kindly ask that both of you look at giving me a testimony after you read portions of it or however you feel comfortable. But I have sent it out to some pastors in the late stages of this, and it was just shocking that they didn't want to read it because of the title. They didn't want to read. They don't want. So, but I'm working through that, and I need this encouragement because the God is it's a good book. It's hurt my stomach a lot, to be honest with you, because I don't like criticism. I'm just going to be honest with you. I hate criticism, but I know I need it. But so it's actually pushed me to do some things. So I can't wait to send that over to you. But Derek, I'm ready. And I want to just give you guys a little coaching real quick here.
Sure.
It's okay. How many of these shows have you done?
Oh, well. we haven't done that many yet.
Okay.
Well, 7 or 8.
Closer. You don't look gay or anything. You can sit like on the camera. You guys can sit closer because Coach, you're about out of the frame. Derek, you're about out of the frame. And all I'm seeing is, you know, when I look at this as a viewer, that there's a gap in between you. And I need, it's okay. Don't get on his lap,
good.
Derek. But
that's good.
There you go. That's better. That's better.
How's that?
Yeah. And you might want to think about moving your, this is just moving your mics to the inside, maybe only because you end up turning away from each other when you talk. So like Derek, put it on the other side of your face. Let me see what that looks like. Move it over here.
Okay.
All the way over there. Like take the whole stand. I'm just, because when you talk, you tend to look away from Derek when the microphones are on your outside. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And I don't know. I mean, you guys are a strong team together, and I'm just from a viewer's perspective.
No, we can.
And Derek, make sure you take the gum out of your mouth before you go live.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys can do what you need to do, but I just want you to make sure you're a little closer.
No, it's good.
That's good information.
Great harmony.
Is that? Am I right there, Todd? Or
I can tell you that you just need to leave it there because it's picking up your voice. You don't have to turn your face. Like sometimes to make.
Gotcha.
Like I'll do this to make a point.
Right.
But I don't need to do that to be heard.
Absolutely.
And so now that you have two people, if you guys are both turning away to talk, make sure you look towards Derek when you talk to him.
All right.
And you might even want to spin your body a little more purposefully towards him. Like take your waist in your chair and just spin it to your left. Mm-hmm. Because your shoulders are spun away from Derek right now. Your right shoulder is facing the wall and your left shoulder should be more facing the wall. And that way you'll naturally be more. Yeah, there you go. You'll naturally be, there you go. You'll be a little more. There you go.
Right.
And Derek, you need to do the same thing as Coach did there. You don't need that filter either. It's not doing much for you. If you can't get that on, don't worry about it.
All right. That's good.
Yeah, Coach, there you go. And then slide over a little bit. Put your mic down lower. There you go. Slide over to your right, Derek.
Yeah,
scooch over. Your shoulders can
turn it, but come
turn
close.
it. No, turn a little bit. Twist your left shoulder forward. Turn your body.
Like take your chair and turn it on an
like
angle.
This, right?
Yeah, but come closer to me. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. So now you're at least you guys are more like you're gonna be talking to him like this.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to be faced. You don't want to be like this and then like, hey, Derek, how's it going? Let me,
right.
You want to already be there.
No, this is good.
Man, remember that time you made me like do burpees till I puked? Oh man, that was good, man. That was
a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
So is that why you use a swivel chair?
Yeah, it's just easy for me to I don't know if I do everything right, but I know that people want to be entertained a little bit.
Absolutely.
Today's show I did solo, which I normally have been doing them solo. And Derek was probably my fourth person, but I've got over 50 podcasts on Spotify.
Oh, wow.
I'm 55 now, I think. So I keep getting better.
Sure.
Sure.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for the feedback too.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so what's this show about today? Let's let it go. Let's let it rip.
Well, we're just going to talk about you and what you're doing with the entrepreneurs and just more history on your background and all those things that are, we're just going to go with the flow. That's what we do pretty good. All
right, Derek. I know you're coming to the Tiki Hut.
Mm-hmm.
I got you scheduled to do a brief Wednesday night with the pros and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a slot for you if you want to do it to get you on stage for 40 minutes.
Absolutely.
It's Wired Differently Athletic Mindset with Derek Bowles.
Mm.
So you would be kicking off the show Thursday morning at 8:00, and you're just going to talk about the mindset of an athlete and how it yokes with the mindset of an entrepreneur. I want my entrepreneurs to play like an athlete. I want them to think like an athlete.
Right.
I want them shooting free throws like Derek Bowles. I think we as entrepreneurs are lazy. We don't understand the power of the subconscious. We don't understand that the North Star of our habits is our identity, right? And if we want to be a great free throw shooter, then we must shoot a lot of free throws, right?
Right.
If we want to be a great burger restaurant, then we got to learn how to make a lot of burgers. We got to rep it. We got to do the reps. We shoot free throws. If it's a burger stand, then we're running drills. We're running the calendar. We're running the schedule. We're practicing the burgers. We're always doing cocks. We cannot ever be a day not in our craft.
That's right.
Right.
And so I want you to bring that athleticism mindset that Coach taught you and so many other people.
Sure.
How do we bring that mindset into our into our entrepreneurial mindset?
No question. No question.
And so the next day I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be doing the Wired Differently Athletic Mindset, but I'll be teaching on something different. But it'll still be in that Wired Differently Athletic Mindset.
No, that's good. That's good.
Whatever you bring, I'll be able to spin away from or complement it. You got 40 minutes.
That's great.
And Coach, are you coming, or I know you were flirting with it?
No, I won't be able to come.
Okay.
I have to speak at the Save My Heart's Save
good.
My Heart annual convention in Howell, Michigan here. So
wow,
I'm
Howell,
there.
Michigan.
Yeah, Howell, Michigan.
HOWE.
HOWELL Howell.
Howell. Okay.
Howell. Yeah, and they
that's great.
Because of the situation that I had and the cardiac arrest that I have.
That's awesome.
It's
all right.
They want me to come and tell my story. So
Derek is gonna tear it up.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. He's done that a lot.
Absolutely.
Done that a lot.
Absolutely. All right. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, then let's get going. First and foremost, man, I'm always excited to have our guest on the show, Todd Saylor. Right? It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to be seen, man. Let's go. Rock and roll, baby.
No doubt, Todd Saylor.
So a couple things, man. Obviously, we connected at the Super Bowl. A lot of good things happened when we were in Phoenix. It was unbelievable time, unbelievable energy, unbelievable event. And more than anything, I wanted to bring on Mike Garland to be the co-host and have a conversation as well, because we want to talk about things that are happening to us right now, especially with you.
Well, Todd, before we got on the air, you just touched upon a topic that is very, very close to my heart, and that was the free will that the Lord allows each one of us to have. Can you go back there and tell our audience a little bit about what we were discussing right before the show?
Wow, that was listen, the audience needs to know, man, we were talking like, I don't know, 30 minutes.
Yes.
We put it on, didn't we? Yes. So I would tell you, so we were talking actually about the books I had wrote in my brand, which is Wired Differently. I'm an entrepreneur. I have as many as 14 organizations right now to get you kind of caught up as listeners. And the last endeavor that I feel like is my last big push is this brand, Wired Differently. And so Wired Differently is not only a book, but it's an attitude.
Right.
And we want to live our life in this Wired Differently attitude. An attitudinal disorder is what I actually call it sometimes.
Okay.
I like to share with people that we are not of this world, right? We are, as Christians and as believers, we are actually misfits here. I'm a misfit. Derek is a misfit. I talked to him about it just the other day on my show. I mean, I know he's a misfit. He is not of this world, and he is not expected to always get along to go along in this world.
Absolutely.
So my first book was entitled Wired Differently. My second book was titled Wired Differently, Drift Again. And my third book is entitled Wired Differently, Your Will Be Done. Mm. And so what I do in this third book is make it clear. The first book was, what is wired differently? The second book is, why are we wired differently? And the third book is how to become wired differently, right? How to become wired differently. And so I lay out the fact that I want to be able to teach people what, why, and how to become wired differently. And I point out that there's 3 phases to becoming wired differently. The first phase is to acknowledge that we are all wired differently from birth.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, by the time we're 3, literally God gave us 1,000 trillion neurons, right? In our baby brain. That's 15 zeros, if you can comprehend that. Man. And then we make cocktails out of those. And then by the time we're 7, God starts to shrink those brains, neurons, and tighten the ones up that we're using. So at this point, we're using it or losing it. By the time we're 7, our the brain activity has reached its peak of creating the cocktails of neuron activity and connections. And a child at 7, listen, coach, listen, Derek, a child at 7 no longer after this point, basically statistically can learn a second language so easily, can play an instrument, a second instrument, or any instrument so easily. They can't even recover from being bullied as quickly after the age of 7. It's very formative years. But at this point, between 7 and 25, then God goes to work on on the brain, the mind. The brain was created for survival, and the mind was created for success. And so what's happening is God is literally forming this prefrontal cortex, forming your mind for success so it can make decisions.
Sure.
And at some point, that mind is handed off to you, and that baby that was destined to go to heaven if it was to pass early now has the ability to accept Christ into their heart at some point, somewhere around 20, and be cognitively aware of the science of the brain and how it works and all the things that go on, and you accept Christ at John 3:16 so graciously asks us to do. And so I write about that in my book, Your Will Be Done. The first stage is called creation stage or phase. The second stage is called the actualization phase, which I really talk about, where we learn as athletes, we learn as entrepreneurs, we learn how to actually take this weapon, this mind that was created in God's image.
Right.
We've learned how to create and program our subconscious to work for us, not against us.
Yes.
That's the actualization phase. But the last phase is the salvation phase. We've learned and understood we're born wired differently. We've learned in the second phase that we can program our brain. We can treat our subconscious to shoot free throws for days and be great.
Right.
And last but not least, we have to close the deal with God and ask Christ into our heart so that the salvation phase has been completed. And all three phases of Wired Differently been accomplished. There you go, Coach.
Wow.
That's my third book, Your Will Be Done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, as I said during that conversation, that so many people, and surprisingly, so many Christians get caught up in this thing that they just don't understand that the free will that God has, he also instituted into us and into our being and into our spirit and into our brain. And that book, boy, that's going to be very powerful and something that needs to really be spoken of in the world. We also talked a little bit, and you were joking, but we were talking about confidence as opposed to arrogance.
Right.
But I want you to think about something.
Yes, sir.
If Jesus was not confident and just an arrogant man walking around healing people, if he was not confident, the blind man would have never been able to see. The lame would never be able to walk. He would not have walked on water. All of that goes to the mindset of confidence.
Right.
And you going there, Jack, I mean, wow. I mean, I have chills just listening to you talk, because you're hitting on something that all of us need to know.
Right.
And you talked about a little bit also, you shared that you can't believe some of the thoughts of even Christian leaders in our country and pastors that don't want to go there. Our show is Tough Talks Unlimited, and this fits to that. And I want you to know this. Don't worry about that, because you know where that comes from. That comes from the institution of the church. And we have a lot of pastors who are trying to protect the institutions of their church. And you're doing what you're doing through the righteousness of God. I love it.
Yeah, I believe so. And man, you're right. Tough talk. I was literally brought to my knees over this. And I believe the pastors that I've been able to talk with and seek counsel with are all full well meaning. It's just that it brought it very clear to me that pastors don't want to talk about the science of the brain.
No, right.
And motivational people don't want to talk about Christ generally in motivating your life fully and heartily and driving your life. So neither camp wants to talk about either the other side together.
Sure.
They're kind of mutually exclusive. And then here I am probably going to create a book that will tick off both sides and nobody will buy it, but that one person is going to feel real good about it, right?
Right. Well, I'll
God
be one of
to
those.
write it. I'm writing
Absolutely.
it. And that's just funny you bring it up. But that's really the hard fact. I thought that, I've been writing this book for well over a year now. And I felt so anointed until the last manuscript came back, and I got some really difficult rubs, man.
Right.
How do you, when you start taking on God's voice, there's a certain level of pressure now there that you don't really understand until you literally start penning down what you feel God has taught the world to understand. And that's a big job, right?
Right.
And I would probably tell you I took it a little lightly early on because I just felt so confident in my walk and where we're going. But as it tightened up in the book, title is Your Will Be Done. I never thought really about how it would impact the very strict-minded, Christian. And I don't mean they're wrong. It's just that they really see God's will as singular and the only thing
absolutely
that drives anything in this world. And I don't disagree that I'm never going to put God in a box. But at the end of the day, I know I have free will to eat a candy. I've only ate meat, salt, and water for 6 weeks now, and I've lost 25 pounds. It's my choice not to eat a damn candy bar, Derek.
Right.
It's my choice to go off this diet and go have the double cheeseburger, ketchup only, large fries, and a Coke. Oh, man, does that sound good? I wish I could bread right now. God won't even let me take communion because it's bread, right? Come on. Now. So I think he'll give me a pass on that. But my point of the matter is I miss bread. I miss sugar. I haven't had sugar in 6-7 weeks. Man, why are you bringing it up right now? I got to go. But that's my choice.
Sure.
I'm not going to not go to heaven because I jump off this bread diet. For a second.
Right.
Truth is, I did get a piece of bread the other day. I had a Tom's donut.
By the way,
I had to test it out. It was a new product.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Come on now.
Gotcha.
Man. Well, a couple of things pop into my mind. Obviously, the conversation we're having right now is so powerful. And then the thing that pops in is you're challenging people, right? That's part of it, right? I think that's what you're doing on both sides. And I think, being able to have that type of a conversation, and I love the other piece of it, start that conversation, right? That's the big thing. So talk a little bit about that just so we can wrap our minds around it.
Okay, to be more specific, start the mind. Give me I think I know what you're asking, but ask me a little bit more precisely, and I promise you I'll
Sure. I'm just saying, like, we're challenging people on both sides, especially for the free will piece.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I think the challenge here is that if you're in this camp, which I'm in both camps, I don't think people have put their thoughts into that, like, we don't drive our mind to try and understand things we're not comfortable with. And so when you think about the fact that the Bible, I believe, clearly the Bible does not tell us, I don't read this anywhere in the Bible, guys, that if a baby dies in infancy, that it goes to hell.
No.
I don't read that anywhere in the Bible. I looked, I searched, I'm like clear that it doesn't say they go to hell. It does not say that.
Right.
But what it does say is that the baby who could not accept Christ into their heart, as John 3:16 says to us, it does say that the baby that David had in Psalms 2, Samuel 2 says, David will reunite with him again one day.
Right.
All right, so I read that to believe that the infant went. It says in Matthew in a couple different places, if we will not inherit the kingdom, if we are not childlike, right? So come on now. I mean, it's clearly saying that if a baby does not live past the age of infancy and goes to perish, that they are not going to hell, but yet there is a place for them in heaven. I believe that. But no, so now if I believe that, and I read a little further into the book of John, and I think even Romans talks a little bit about it, other places, but John is clear, 3:16, the only way to heaven is through Christ Jesus, accepting him into our heart, repent, and we will go to heaven and have eternal life, salvation, and be with God, our maker, the rest of our life. We will not go to hell. Well, I got a problem with that, God. I'm wrestling with you.
Right.
How is it that one goes without asking Christ and the other one has to ask Christ?
Absolutely.
Which brings us into this mind situation about being wired differently. To truly be wired differently, you must accept Christ into your heart.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's great.
And so I need to let people know that there's this place in time that we share as people in this world. We have the creation phase on the beginning, and we have the salvation phase where we ask Christ, but in the middle is this actualization phase where I take athletes, I take entrepreneurs, and I teach them how to use the mind that God gave them. God gave them a mind in this actualization phase that gives you a subconscious, and that subconscious is a super engine. It's a supercomputer, and that thing runs 24/7, 365, and it's going to go out and get what you want, Derek. You want that car, it's going to get it. You want that house, it's going to get it. You want that person to marry, it's going to get it. You want that championship at Iowa State, right? Idaho State. Oh, I'm at Idaho. You want that champion, that starting ship job at Idaho State. You got it, didn't you?
Right.
That was your will be done. That was that super engine driving. Now, it's whether you had God in your life or not, you still had that super driver. See, God gave you this mind untethered.
Right.
Yes, he did.
Follow me on this. Untethered will. That's what I'm talking about. He said, I'm giving you the same super engine brain that I gave Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, that I gave Bill Gates, these guys who don't profess Christ as their life and savior and that have built them. He gave them the world with their super engine. Untethered. He didn't say you can build the Tesla only if you accept me. He did not say that.
No.
He said, go kick it, boys. Make the world better if you can. But, man, come get me. Ask me into your life, man. I raised you. I bore you. I created you my image. I miss you. I want you. Come with me. You can do so much better. Let me get in your subconscious, in your heart.
That's big.
Because without Jesus Christ, your subconscious has no conscience.
Right.
Yes.
Think about that for a moment.
That's big. That's big.
That's the biggest thing you're going to have on the show all day. Without Christ, your subconscious has no conscience.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a super heat-seeking missile, coach. It's going to go get that house, that car, that hooker, whatever it puts in its mind. It's going to go get. I'm sorry to drop the tough talk here right now.
No, it's good.
Permission. It's going to get it, and it's going to ruin your life or make your life.
Yes,
Ask Elvis Presley.
Right.
Ask Whitney Houston.
Right.
Ask these people. Ask Michael Jackson. Oh, you can't. They're dead. Because their free will.
Right.
Even though they were yoked with Jesus Christ, made decisions that weren't going to help them live any further. They had that free will. They knew it was wrong, but they couldn't stop. That's a whole nother conversation. But I want these listeners to understand that once you ask Christ into your life, your subconscious now has a conscience.
Yeah.
And when you start scrolling through those nude pictures on Instagram, it's going to say, that's not right. Right. When you start doing things like drinking too much, it's going to say it's not right.
That's right.
When you go take another hit of what or whatever is bad for you, it's going to say, that's not right.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Without Christ, it's not there.
No, it's not.
It's just like, this will make you feel better.
It's not.
Another drink, just you deserve the drink, man. Come on now, you deserve it. You need to feel better. You need to take care of yourself. Look, you can't be living for everybody all the time. Take the drink. Take a hit off this marijuana. Take a hit off this blunt. Man.
Absolutely.
It's going to calm you down. It's your life. You can do what you want to do. It's not going to. It's just one. Just try meth once. You weren't going to believe it. You don't have to do it after that. If you don't have Christ in your mind, your heart, and your soul, there's nothing there saying don't.
No.
It's just your own rationalization.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Absolutely.
So both sides, you got the Christians that don't want to get into the mind training of motivation. And then you got the motivators like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and these guys that don't want to bring God into it because they can't talk about money so prevalently. They can't talk about their science so prevalently. That makes them a little uncomfortable, so they don't bring God into that. And the Christian doesn't bring the science and the motivation into the Christ-like talk because it seems a little arrogant, seems a little too selfish, seems about like not eyes on God, which I get it all. And so we're standing out here like, we're like this.
Absolutely.
We got to come together. We got to say, listen, God gave us this mind built in his image. And yes, you may not need God to be successful in this world, but I'm only successful in this world because God is my life. Right. That's for me.
Right.
Jeff Bezos, he was pretty successful in this world. I'd never heard him espouse about God. So let's just assume for a moment he's done pretty good.
Right.
I don't know where he's going.
Right.
But it's clear that your untethered will be done.
Right. And you know, Todd, that's where people, they don't understand. Well, how can this drug dealer build a kingdom? How can he espouse to have so much money and create such an empire? Because God gave him a free will. Will he be punished for that? Yes. But it's our will. It's our free will. It is our free will. You know, when I was a coach at Cleveland State, I was the head coach there for 3 years. And one time I had a African young man who played for me, Pop Conduo, beautiful young man. While I was there, accepted Christ into his life. And he had came to this country as a Muslim, but he, over the years, when he was a junior college player, you know, God was just pressing on his heart. And then he finally surrendered. But he used to say that, you know, he would pray with the Christians on his team. And all of those guys were just great people and God loving. He said, but coach, we would play other teams that weren't that way. And they would beat us. And they would win a lot of games.
Right.
And I don't understand that. And I said, Pop, it's all about free will, man. It's all about free will.
It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't seem fair. But again, Todd, I'm going to go back to this. Free will combined with confidence is what carries you. You can't have one without the other. And people think, well, I'll just show up and the Lord will just bless me.
Right.
You know, it's like Fannie Lou Hamer said back during the civil rights. Fannie Lou said, I love God. I love the Lord. And we can pray and we can pray and we can pray until we faint. But if we don't get up off our knees and do something, God ain't going to bless us. God ain't going to change it. And a lot of people don't understand that.
That's big.
And that's what I love your book. I can't wait to get it here. So
I'm going to send you guys a manuscript. I appreciate that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
You're good, Derek.
Well, I'm thankful that we're having this conversation. I think it's important more than anything.
I'm blessed that you're the first podcast. I've got 10 podcasts scheduled coming up for this book tour, and this has been a blessing because you know, I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there once. You know, in the shower, on the floor, crying. I've been there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like,
right.
I mean, it's a bad place. You know, the brain, the mind. I've read great doctors. Dr. Daniel Amen has influenced my life. I don't have a degree in this stuff. I believe it. My father was an amazing coach, and you know, we're making a movie called The Tiger in Us. If you go to tigerinus.com, you can see the trailer for the movie. It's phenomenal. I would challenge anybody to go to toddsaylor.com, check out the Tiki Hut that we've got coming up, and my books, Wired Differently, and all the merch. But in this third book, I write about the motivation of power of the brain. And when I was a little boy, I don't know how much time we have, but I'll leave you with this story to kind of talk about. My father never preached Jesus. God would come up, he would go to church, he would take the football players to Catholic church because it was a Catholic predominantly community. And God was talked about, but the word Jesus, I can't tell I ever heard it in my house ever once. But my father, I believe, believes, and he still to this day talks about angels, and I've given him Galatians, and I've talked to him about the Bible being the authentic word of God breathing into us. And he told me probably 4 months ago that he did believe in Jesus Christ. He's 81, and it was nice to hear that. And but when I was a kid, though, he was just like these epic stories. He was like the real life Ted Lasso, but in a more serious fashion, man.
Right.
And that's what this movie is going to be about. But I remember saying, Dad, I can't go somewhere. He wanted me to go do something with him. And he said, son, listen, what's wrong? I said, Dad, I just got this massive headache. It just hurts. I just really don't. I'm probably 16 years old. He says, come over here. Tell me about it. I said, well, I don't know what it is. I just don't feel well. I got this headache right about here, and just don't want to go out. I just rather just chill here and play Atari or whatever was the thing back then. Mom wouldn't let us have any of those games. So, but here's the story. So he looks at me and goes, you're coming with me, but here, before we go, if I can get rid of that headache, you wouldn't. He goes, yeah, I would love to. I just don't. He says, listen. He said, talk to me. I said, okay. What do you need, Dad? He says, close your eyes. I close my eyes. He said, son, I want you to look at that headache in your brain. Can you see it? I said, yeah, Dad, I can see it. He says, now I want you to tell me what shape it's in. And I said, it looks like an oblong cloud. I can see right where it is. He goes, you see it really good? I said, yeah, Dad. And he says, well, what color is it? And I said, well, it's like purplish, Pepto-Bismol kind of. Really. He says, yeah, okay, so you got what size it is. You see what it looks like. You see what colors. He says, how much do you think it weighs? I said, I think it's a 2-pounder or something, Dad. And he says, okay, so it's Pepto-Bismol, it's oblong cloud, it's about a pounder or so, 2-pounder. I said, yeah, Dad, yeah. He says, no, I just want you to look at that very clearly. Can you fit it in one hand or two? I said, Dad, I can get both hands on this. He said, okay, grab it. I went like this. He said, now, throw it over your shoulder. And then he said, let's go to the game. And I got up, and I just did what he said. We got in the car, and I was driving away. And he said to me, how's that headache, son? And I said, what headache, Dad? So it's just this idea of like, he wasn't writing the damn book for me. I didn't know I was going to write a book. He wasn't. These things were not happening in my life that like were scripted. This is just my father being a mentor to me and demonstrating to me at the age of 58 now what the power the mind has, and more importantly, the control we have over our prefrontal cortex, our ability to change the moment, change the world, change our health, change our mindset, change our life.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Very powerful. Very powerful. What a story. What a story, Todd. What a story.
I hope you can meet my dad one day.
Hey, would love to do it. Love to do it. I played high school football for Lloyd Carr. I was his first quarterback at that time. And, coach is dealing with some health issues himself right now.
I do. He lost his wife.
Yeah.
He had just drove down last summer, and I met with him and my dad and my brother. We broke bread over there at Lake James, Indiana, at the Donut Capital of the World. Lloyd came, and I have pictures of him and my dad having a great conversation. Lloyd sought my father out to have that meeting. My father was friendly with Bo Schembechler.
Absolutely.
And so Lloyd took over. Probably I think he's a more winning coach than even Bo Schembechler at Michigan, if the truth be told.
I think he was.
Yeah, I think he was.
People don't realize that.
They don't want to talk about it, but it's the truth. He was great.
Yeah.
So you had a great coach, Mike, and those two guys. It was just fun to sit there and listen to these guys talk, and I can send you some pictures. But man, that's great. You got to play for Lloyd Carr. Awesome.
Yeah, I was. We're very, very close.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Oh yeah, we're very, very close. I mean,
well, why don't you pick him up and bring him this time instead of the other dude? Then I can meet you.
Yeah, I tell you, he's a phenomenal man. You know, I tell you, I know he probably discussed this with you guys, but when he lost his grandson, that really, I saw Coach. He went to a dark place. It sent him to a dark place because he's so accustomed to fixing things. Right. And you know, as men, especially guys like your dad and Lloyd Carr and Bo Schembechler, they fix things. And when they can't fix things, it takes them to a dark side. And even when you have Christ in your life, see, I just went through this thing with my son, Todd. Almost lost him. He's in June 1st will be a year to his 2 years of celebration of his heart transplant. But prior to that, 8 days before he received his heart, they had to do a procedure on him, which was the first surgery of its kind in the history of mankind, where they took out a device that was keeping him alive on the left side of his heart and took it out and kept him alive without the left side of his heart until he could get a heart 8 days later. And I'm one of those guys. I'm speaking to myself. I'm accustomed to fixing things. And all I could do during that time was just lean on the Lord.
Right.
I had there was nothing else.
Right.
There was nothing else. I just had to totally surrender. And the Lord answered my prayers. And what's amazing in some of that too is like every day, just like your dad told you, every day I visualize his survival. And the Lord would speak to me and say, I got him. But I understand exactly what you're saying. Man. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Great story. Great. I'm glad that that's working out. And, I'm just committing to having that relationship in my prayers this evening about your grandson and his continued healing.
Yeah.
Great show, you guys. Wow.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've had some guests on here. I mean, and we've had some highly visible guests on here. But I'm going to tell you this, Todd. Boy, we haven't had one like we haven't had a guest like you. It's just
absolutely.
It just speaks to so much to what we're all about and what we want to be out, moving forward with this podcast.
Well,
thank you very much.
You. I aspire to, the distance you went in your career. I think it's important that we understand that it's not just the efforts we make in this world, but more the distances we're willing to go. And Derek showed me that his commitment to me as a human being. I do genuinely love Derek, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. So I can't wait to see you at the Tiki Hut retreat.
Absolutely.
We'll have some more conversations. I'm going to get you guys over the manuscript, and we'll get your testimony in that book. Right? We'll have some fun. All right.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.